good Wednesday night to you. James Brierton here, along with the group of the Carolina Weather Group, and we're going to have tonight's open mic night. That means we're taking your questions, your comments, concerns. We're talking about South Carolina weather. We're going to check in with the panel in just a second. Scotty Powell may be checking in. He's on the road, so he normally does the honors of opening the show, and normally reminds you which number show this is. It is Wednesday, August the 1st, and this is show number 84,360. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's my place in line for Hamilton tickets here in Charlotte. That was so much fun today, let me tell you. Matter of fact, I will use that opportunity when we come around to talk about Charlotte weather, to talk about how it almost was the reason I didn't get Hamilton tickets. Not, of course, the reason why, but as you were joining us live tonight on Facebook and on Twitter and on YouTube, or listening to this podcast on Google Play, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, or TuneIn, you'll probably know that on this Wednesday evening, we got lots of rain across the Carolinas, especially across the Piedmont, upstate South Carolina, the foothills, the mountains, and we're going to be talking a little bit about that because we do have some flash flood warnings that are scrolling at the side of your screen, so we'll let you know all about those coming up. But first, let's check in with our panelists, and we'll go north to south. We'll start actually in good old New Jersey. Peter is back with us. Long time no see, friend. How are you?
I am doing good. How are you all tonight? Wet?
Yeah. Is it nice and dry up there?
Well, for right now it is, but we've been kind of getting the same weather you guys have been getting down there in the south, where it's been raining off and on, and just miserable up here, and hot and humid as well. Let me show you a little screen share here if I can get it up. Hopefully it'll work. So this is our month of July that just passed, obviously, and all the amounts of rain we had each day, and there was 13 measurable rain days in Philly out of the 31 days. So it was, it wasn't the wettest month. It was only about a little over 3 inches, but that's below normal still. But we just had a lot of days of off and on rain, where you'd be like driving down a highway and it's sunny, and then the next mile it's pouring, and then it goes back sunny again. So that's kind of the way it's been since last weekend, 2 weekends ago. And this week it's been pretty much the same. So we're going to be drying out a bit, I guess, this weekend. And then next week's not looking too bad. But hopefully we can kick this rain out of here, because it's kind of getting a little annoying. So
I know how you feel. It's like deja vu here in Charlotte. It rained the beginning of last week. It rained again today. It is currently raining outside as we take a live look near Uptown from this USGS camera. It's dark, but trust me, it is raining. Continuing our tour around the panel from north to south, I think that makes it my turn. So as I alluded to, I was in line. 84,000th was my starting position for tickets to see Hamilton here in Charlotte, and they'll be touring coming through in October. I didn't get any tickets. Not surprising, but as luck would have it, about 3 minutes before it was my turn for tickets, because the little countdown thing's going and it's ticking and it's ticking and it's ticking, it tells you you're about 3 minutes away, the power goes out. Because if you are a frequent viewer of this show, you know that every time it rains, our backyard gets soaked and the power goes out. So I got back in line just in time to get back into the portal, and it was like, congratulations, it's your turn. All the shows are sold out. So I was like, thanks.
Yeah,
thanks.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad I waited in line. Fantastic. Chris Jackson had a little bit luck of his own. I know he went storm chasing today. Hopefully your day was better than my Hamilton tickets, Chris.
Yeah, it was a pretty good day. I left out of Columbia here a few hours ago, went down to Barnwell, caught a nice little storm in Barnwell right before it started to weaken just a little bit. Got some great pictures. Literally just got home about 5-10 minutes ago, and got signed in here. And going to go through these pictures while we go through the broadcast tonight, and hopefully share a few.
Fantastic. We are looking forward to seeing those, and glad to have you, of course, back on as a regular reoccurring panelist here at the Carolina Weather Group. It was another day we were like, yes, Chris is on board. He's out chasing. We'll see what he finds. So let's go down to Charleston, South Carolina. I don't know, between Shay and Jared, who's further north?
Shay is.
Shay is. Okay, Shay, you're up, my friend.
Okay, yeah, we've had quite a lot of rainfall here in the last several days because of a couple features here. Let me go ahead and share a screen, give you an idea of what's going on here in the southeast for pretty much everybody. And what we have here, this is a loop from GR Earth showing the 10-meter winds, just arrows the high pressure, Bermuda high pressure out here. You can see the central high pressure over Bermuda. And you can see the southerly flow right into the coastline, and it continues right into the Gulf. What we have is cold fronts that have been just dropping down to the southeast region, one after the other, and stalling because of the strength of the Bermuda high holding these fronts inland. So when you have a succession of fronts dropping in, it's called frontalysis when they slowly fizzle away. But what it does is it creates a moisture train up from the Gulf of Mexico. And that's what's happening now. So it's southern Appalachians all the way up to West Virginia. We're talking lots of rain over the next few days, at least through Friday. We may get some drier pattern coming in by Saturday, Sunday. But at least for today, tomorrow, and Friday, very, very wet pattern, several inches of rain. Flash flood watches and warnings, I'm sure, will be issued soon, if not already have been issued. So keep up with your National Weather Service, local National Weather Service for those. And that'll be it for the southeast region. So that's basically a blocking pattern in the Atlantic. That's what's going on. As far as the tropics, if you want to come back to the tropics, Jared, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I get the same question every day. Is it ever going to stop raining? And my answer is that yes, one day it will stop raining. The sun will expand and swallow the earth, and on that day it will stop raining. But until then, yes, it's going to back off a little bit. It's going to be okay, y'all. I mean, it's just the way it is. Shay will have all the numbers on that in a second. I wanted to show the water vapor image. Quite an impressive plume of moisture. This is the GO 16. This is channel 9. This is the mid-level water vapor. And a couple features that you can notice here as I put this into motion, get it on the loop there. And you'll see that we've got a little trophiness, a nice big old Bermuda high. And that guy's been wobbling. That guy is he's gonna reassert himself a little bit and shunt some of this deeper moisture to the west for a couple of days. And it's gonna be really nice. It's gonna be like, oh wow, we're gonna get normal weather. It'll be in the 90s with scattered showers and thunderstorms on the sea breeze. I can at least handle that. I can't handle the 5 a.m. wake ups anymore. It's just it's driving me batty. But I mean, this is that's a really impressive plume of Gulf moisture. I mean, that thing's stretching all the way into Canada. That's in this very highly annoying blocking pattern. So yeah, it will stop raining. It's just we just need this Bermuda high to assert himself a little bit more. You know, we're working on the assertiveness training with him, and once that happens, then it will be it'll be nice. But in the meantime, keep the rain gear close, turn around, don't drown. Any other good rhymes? My iPhone has started to actually autocomplete them for me, which is great. So I think my iPhone is going to be the next Weather Radio Nation ambassador. But
you're texting a lot of people. Turn around, don't drown.
Pretty much. So that's just the way it is these days. So, but anyway, James, I'm going to send it back to you. I think we're throwing it north.
Yeah, we're going to go north here in just a second. I'm going to give David Reese a little bit of a segue first by popping up our current radar here for North Carolina and South Carolina, showing you all that rain is again. A little bit hard to see because it's green on top of green, but I want to let folks know if you're watching, along that North Carolina-Virginia border here, this is just to the north of Winston-Salem, we have those flash flood warnings that went out just a short time ago because of the persistent rain we're seeing there and the rainfall accumulations. But even if you're not watching from those particular counties, all of these counties now highlighted in green, these are flash flood watches because more rain is in the forecast for tonight through tomorrow. So we're still going to be dealing with this flood threat. Not too many severe thunderstorms today. We did get one or two of them, but we do have one if you're watching from north of the North Carolina border in Virginia. And so with that, we'll go over to David Reese. Good to see you. He's in Charlottesville, and it looks like some of this more severe, stronger weather is coming your way, David.
Yeah, of course, as you just say that, one of my counties goes under a severe thunderstorm warning. So thank you for that, James.
You're welcome. But, it was our gift to you.
Yeah, gift to me, right? Yeah. Buckingham County, which is near Dillwyn, are areas just to the south and east of Lynchburg, near Appomattox County and Beaufort County, and some points to the south. They've seen upwards of 90 to 120 lightning strikes in the past 15 minutes. Also, Martinsville and Danville there in Southern Virginia under flash flood warnings. That was me last night. Basically, we were inundated with a ton of rain. Officially at McCormick Observatory, they've had records since the 1880s. We had our fourth wettest day on record with nearly 7 inches. The only ones ahead of us are from Agnes in 1972 8 inches of rain from 1944. And then a tropical depression actually gave us a little over 9 inches back in 1987, back in September of 1987. So it was extremely wet. We've had roads that never flood last night. So was a new thing for me. It's also the second significant flood event I've had to cover personally in the past 2 months. End of May, we had 3 people die due to flooding. Fortunately, that was not the case last night. So everybody, as far as I know, were safe and sound from the floods. That's some good news. But like Shay and everybody else has said, like this just moisture pump will continue. I'm actually a little bit concerned of the flood threats around here tomorrow and Friday because of the topography that we have to deal with. Fortunately, tonight, the 850 moisture transport is a little bit faster than it was yesterday and last night. So that's a good thing. So we'll just have to see how strong these storms are, especially for areas east of Charlottesville, between Charlottesville and Richmond on I-64. If you're familiar with that, some strong storms heading your way.
David, I got a question for you up that way. And I know, Chris, you in the Midlands of South Carolina and others, even down all the way to the coastal plain, with all this rain, really, the atmospheric river occurring over the Appalachian Mountains, you have a lot of runoff on both sides. How concerned are you about the swelling of rivers flooding over their bases and being problematic for your area?
Some, but not super concerned, at least not yet. Now, if we see another 3 to 6 inches of rain over our area, river flooding will become a significant concern, especially farther downstream areas in central Fluvanna County near Lake Monticello, if you're familiar with that area. Also, the Rapidan River just south of Culpeper. We had issues back in late May and early June with river flooding. That could very well once again be the case this go around. Fortunately, around here, we've had flooding events that have kind of pushed people back away from the rivers some. So we're not super concerned about houses being inundated with water, but in terms of inconvenience, that's definitely going to go up with some more road closures likely over the next couple of days.
And we've got a radar up here on the screen focused in the North Carolina side, but this radar out of Roanoke showing some of that heavy stream of water that is making its way out of North Carolina up to where David is. We have folks who watch the Carolina Weather Group, not only from North and South Carolina, but from across the Southeast. We had some check-ins on Facebook not too long ago from Pennsylvania. They've seen some flooding. We even have folks who watch our program from the Georgia side of the border, and we want to let those folks know that the National Weather Service in Peachtree City just in the last few minutes here has reissued a tornado warning on a strong thunderstorm that was making its way. This is in the Atlanta suburbs to the east of Atlanta. It was over Social Circle earlier where they had a tornado warn. It came down. Now we have a tornado warning, includes Athens, with University of Georgia is, also for Clark, Jackson, Madison, and Oconee County. So again, this is in Georgia. This is not in the Carolinas, but we do have, again, this very large rain-making weather system that does have this severe component to it. And so if you're watching us from that neck of the woods, we wanted to let you know. We want to talk not only about what Chris Jackson saw when he went storm chasing in the Carolinas today, but we also want to talk about rainfall totals. I can tell you that this week and last week, it was timed perfectly. Our trash gets picked up on Tuesdays, which means the trash can is sitting out there empty with the lid open, and it fills up, and it got measured several more inches of rain here in South Charlotte again. I'm going to just stick a ruler in there and keep it, I think, because that seems to be the pattern. Officially, about half an inch of rain was measured at our Charlotte airport, but certainly local heavier amounts were possible. Shay, what do you have there on your mapping, your data? What are you seeing in terms of rainfall totals thus far?
Oh, I have not actually. I haven't looked at the total rainfalls for that area. Are you talking about for the Charleston area or for?
Sure, whatever you've got for us.
Okay. Real quick, I am getting some feedback from our audience on Facebook Live that we're not getting any volume. So,
that was my fault. You know what? And I was talking about this before, and I just turned it back on. I apologize. You know what it is I can consistently hear myself, but I forget to turn it back on, man. Forget to turn it back on for everyone at home, which really throws me off. Jared and I were talking about it. It's a technical thing. You should never hear anything but what's actually going out. So I apologize. Thank you for pointing that out, Facebook Live. Shay, back over to you.
All right. No problem at all. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to share screen again. Lots of questions about the Charleston area. I think a lot of folks think that we may have had some record rainfall for July, but the truth is we came in at 16th on the list for the wettest July, not near the top. But here are the numbers here. So we had 10.87 downtown Charleston. Our official location is North Charleston at the Weather Service station. That is the 8.95 inches. And so that put us 16th for the month. Few areas. I mean, most of us know some of the areas of Charleston get more rain than others, especially along the sea breeze front or even pre-sea breeze front in the morning times. Overnight in the morning, the coastal areas have been getting really saturated. And then as the afternoons wear on, the sea breeze line comes in. That's where the difference in rains are coming in, different spots around town. So they're like where I'm at in Wando, we could have probably had more than 10.87 inches. I feel pretty confident in that. But our total rainfall here is shown. You can look this up, the National Weather Service historical climate information, and right here 8.95 as stated earlier, and then this is the one for North Charleston, registering at 10.87 inches. Basically, here is the 5 wettest months on record for July. 1964 holds the record at 18.46 inches. So I can't imagine what that was like at that time, but you know, you can see the top 5 here. Number 5 is 1985 at 12.06. So a little bit of a stretch to get to that record. And that's pretty much it for Charleston. As far as other areas, we'll have to wait and see how the rainfall totals go, especially upstate, mid-state. Probably need to bring Chris Chris Jackson from the Midlands of South Carolina near Columbia, and have him kind of go over his neck of the woods and what's been going on there.
Absolutely, Shay. Earlier today, we had a line of storms that developed basically from the Augusta area all the way up over toward Newberry, and then I guess in a nice linear line over to the Rock Hill area. And I'm going to try to share my screen here. Let's see here. There we go. All right. And if you guys can see this, looking at radar scope, just looking at radar estimated rainfall totals, and between Whitmire and a little town of Carlisle, radar's estimating, you know, somewhere between 2 to 2.5 inches of rain have fallen in those pink areas, with 1 3/4 to 1.5 inches in the green and blue areas. And you can kind of see where those same areas are training all along that line that developed from Augusta up into Newberry and all the way over to Rock Hill. You know, further south, you know, in the immediate Columbia area, it's been really hit and miss today. Right now, I think we got a few storms trying to move into the Columbia area. One right over Lexington, Lake Murray, over to Irmo and Chapin right now, and then another one that's looking pretty weak down closer to Swansea around the Lexington and Orangeburg County lines. But you know, as far as the Midlands of South Carolina has been concerned, it's been a really hit and miss day.
Chris, thank you for that. And I'm just going to go ahead and take a step backwards and recap what I was talking about when my mic was off, because I know folks couldn't hear me, and I do apologize for that. But I was just noting how we have folks who watch our program not only from North Carolina and also South Carolina, but we have folks from all around the United States. I saw a check-in on Facebook from, I believe it was Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, and I know we also have people who watch from Georgia. So we wanted to let anyone know who may be watching from the Georgia side of things that the National Weather Service in Peachtree City has gone ahead and reissued a tornado warning for a strong thunderstorm that is now moving through the Athens area. We'll go ahead and put this up on your screen for you. This was a strong thunderstorm that moved through Social Circle about an hour ago. At the time, it did have a tornado warning on it. They dropped that warning because it weakened a bit, but now is beginning to strengthen. So you can see we do have a tornado warning. This is in Georgia again. But if you're watching from that side of our border here, we do have a tornado warning for the next few minutes. This is in Clark County, Oconee County, some of those surrounding areas. Also home, of course, to the University of Georgia. So if you're watching our program tonight from that neck of the woods, be sure to check with your local media there as that strong thunderstorm and tornado possibility there continues in the eastern Atlanta suburbs. I also know we got a lot of questions coming in on Facebook. Thank you so much. Be sure to ask your questions. It's open mic night, so not only are we going to talk about what is on our minds, we want to know what's on your minds as well too. So you can tweet us at Carolina WX Group on Twitter. If you're watching on Periscope, on YouTube, or on Facebook, feel free to pop those into the comments. Chris, I think you've got more images up on the screen right now. Is that correct, of some of the storms you saw today?
Well, we're not getting anything.
I think we may have lost Chris.
Well, James, I did. There's a gentleman on Andrew Plyler wants to know about Lancaster, and that's up here near Fort Lawn, just north of Great Falls, near Elgin. And he's asking about thunderstorms in his area. And right now, nothing directly over Lancaster, but I do suspect that in time you're going to see these storms on and off as this moisture pumps up from the Gulf of Mexico. You're not going to be immune to this. Most people across all of the Southeast are going to see this moisture training across. You can see it here on radar, really streaming in. There's near Athens. There's that tornado warning James was talking about. There's lots of moisture. I would expect this kind of activity to continue over the next couple of days until things sort of wind down. And it looks like, James, that we could get maybe a separate lobe of high pressure pushed westward over South Carolina and North Carolina, the western parts of the states by Saturday, Sunday. May get some drier air into there. Just a small injection for a couple of days, but then we could go right back to the wet pattern again into early next week. So maybe hopefully a little bit of a break.
That would be nice. You know, we had a really nice weekend from what I recall here in Charlotte. We made it out to the Matthews Farmers Market on Saturday. It was fairly pleasant outside. I think we may have gotten some rain later on in the day, either on Saturday or Sunday. But, you know, it seems like such a long time ago with this constant rain coming on through. And you know what? It tricks you, too. You head out in the afternoon to go for a walk or whatever it may be. But you got to remember, if you hear that thunder, you're close enough to be struck by lightning as these cells work their way on through. So thank you for that question. How much rain will we get here in Union, South Carolina? That question, I think that says Dennis Kirby. So kind of a similar question or area to Lancaster we were just talking about, and we can try to pinpoint some of those forecasted rainfall totals in just a moment. Matter of fact, I think what Shay is pulling up right now is a really nice map. Maybe we can blow that up there a little bit, Shay, as we come back over to you to talk a little bit here about the forecasted rainfall totals that not only here in the southeast, but I mean, man, that jets all the way up to the northeast.
Yeah, this is the 5-day total. You can see plenty of moisture on the way over the 5-day total. If we go back and look at the 7-day total, not much change. I think most of this is going to happen in the next 3 days. So if we do days 1 through 3, we'll see a majority of this rainfall between now and Saturday. You know, this is where this period right now through Friday night and into maybe even Saturday morning is when we're going to see the majority of this rainfall along the Appalachians. So, and you can even see some of the rainfalls spreading along the coastline. I think the amounts along the coast might be a little bit underrated simply because they're not maybe factoring in some of the sea breeze moisture that's going to be associated with some of just inland locales. But that's sort of the latest thinking from the Weather Prediction Center, just quantitative precipitation forecast the next 3 days here. Back to you, James.
Thanks, Shay. So just to rehash those colors that we were seeing there on the screen, blue is how much, and those darker reds and purples?
Let me pull this back up again and present to everyone. So yeah, the blues here are about, an inch, anywhere from an inch to an inch and a half. As we start to get into the purples, we're getting beyond an inch and a half up towards 2.5 inches. The oranges and reds, you're talking 4 to 5 inches here. And some of these spots may get a little bit more than that or a little bit less, but the WPC usually does a pretty good job at sort of putting out these products, especially like Hurricane Harvey. They did a fantastic job. So, I mean, these products are fairly trustworthy. I mean, you can expect at least these numbers for a lot of these locations, 4 to 5 inches of rain. So, and that's spread over a 3-day run. We may get half of that tomorrow. We don't know until it actually happens. So there's sort of the thinking there. And yeah, if you live up in those areas, be ready for flooding. That's probably going to happen at several spots.
And you know what strikes me about that map, Shay, is when you compare the forecast map to where they have these flash flood watches out, you can see exactly where they're expecting those higher concentration of rain, because not only is it across western North Carolina and upstate South Carolina, but then you can see it continues up through Virginia all the way up into Pennsylvania, because again, that's where that flash flood concern is. So we'll toggle this back over to Shay's map real fast. You can see that concentration there, western North Carolina, upstate South Carolina, and then when you look to see right now where they have those flash flood watches out, you can see exactly how that correlates. I also do have just an update here on our mapping system. You can see that for the warnings where things are actively happening right now, these green cells up here north of Winston-Salem and the Greensboro metro areas, these are flash flood warnings right now for a couple counties here in North Carolina. But other than that, we don't have any severe thunderstorms. We don't have any tornado warnings in North Carolina or South Carolina. The closest we've got right now is that severe thunderstorm warning in David Reese's neck of the woods and that tornado warning in Athens, Georgia, that we'll continue to keep an eye on as we continue to take your questions and comments tonight.
Hey, James, I got a question from Dan Andrews. This is tropics question. So I'll go ahead and sort of talk a little bit about tropics real quick.
Please do. And you know what? You're absolutely right. We needed to circle back around for Shay's tropical update for the week, and this seems like a perfect opportunity for it.
Right. So Dan Andrews is asking, with things kind of being quiet right now and ongoing flooding, are we setting up for a new Maria-style perfect storm? And the answer is we just don't know yet. And sea surface temperatures right now, we're looking at the 5-day stretch. It's pretty quiet. Right now, what we have is cooler than normal sea surface temperatures. This is the anomaly being below normal. And we're about 2 degrees Celsius below normal in some of these areas of the equatorial Atlantic or the intertropical convergence zone. This is where the monsoonal troughing feeds these systems. And one of the main reasons for this is because of Saharan dust. So if you look at the Saharan dust plume coming off of Africa now, this is dust that is suspended at the mid-levels, about 500 millibars or about 18,000 feet roughly, give or take 10,000 feet above and below. And this sort of reflects sunlight and keeps things cooler over the water. So the water cools as a result of all of this dust. And we've seen systematic plumes of this dust coming off of the coast of Africa. This is all generated from overnight jetting that kicks it up as winds increase. And so right now our ocean heat content or what we call tropical cyclone heat potential is very low as a result. So, I mean, there's just not a lot of heat out there to help generate these storms. Whoops, let me go back to this right here, GOES East sector. You can actually see this in real time from just a little while ago. You can see the plume, or we call this the dusty tongue of the Saharan, really coming out over the Atlantic Ocean. And it really tells a lot about what's going on. Here, the current sea surface temperatures, and you're talking 24 degrees Celsius just near the Cape Verde Islands, and that's like 75-degree water, and that's not very conducive for healthy tropical development. Even the warm belt below that is only reaching 80 to 82 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's not of much help for these systems that are coming off the coast. There isn't a lot of troughing or deep convection to really fire off in tropical waves. But I do want to remind folks that as we get towards the end of the season, I'm sorry, not the end of the season, I'm sorry, as we get towards the peak of the season in September, reminder that we are only here on August 1st, and you can see how the trend goes upwards as we head towards September 10th, which is known as the peak of the hurricane season. So even though it's quiet now, it doesn't mean that things won't really ramp up as we go into time. The Hurricane Center, NHC Atlantic Ops did put a tweet out today saying that typically we only see one system in July every other year, and we had two. We had Brett and Chris in July this year, which makes it slightly above normal. So we're already slightly above normal for the hurricane season this year. But as far as Dan Andrews' question, are we going to see a Maria-style hurricane? Yes, we could see a major hurricane. I think there's 3 on the record for prediction for major hurricanes, but just a matter of where and when it happens. Will we get a landfall this year? That might be another question. We don't know yet. It's just really up in the air. We are expecting a slightly below average hurricane season at this point. Colorado State University says below average. National Hurricane Center is keeping theirs. But either way, I think with these cooler sea surface temperatures, we're going to be good for here for a little while, at least for the next couple of weeks or so. But yeah, we'll wait and see. I think that's a good question to ask, and we have to really keep monitoring the tropics and watch for anything that's going to be developing in the near future. Determine that.
Shay, I know you had the slip of the tongue where you said the end of the season, and I don't mean to point out your slip of the tongue, but I want to just reiterate, it's August the 1st. Is this summer flying by or what? And I do like you are here, Arrow. That is fantastic, because I know, and maybe it's just the new dad in me who can't keep track of time, this year just seems to be flying by. So certainly still have a lot of hurricane season left. So Shay, thank you for that update. We had another question come in on Facebook asking about weather apps. And I know we all kind of use a variety of different apps on our mobile devices, on our phones, and elsewhere. And there was also a question, I believe this is also from Andrew, about lightning with some of the storms. So I'm going to kind of answer both of these questions at once here, but this is a look at radar scope. I know a lot of us have this on our phones. Some of us have it on the computer. It allows you to pick different radars. In this case, I'm looking at the radar from Greenville, Spartanburg, back over kind of the South Charlotte area there. And you can see some of the lightning with these storms right now. I got some up in my neck of the woods here in South Charlotte and some down across Chester County at the this point too. So yeah, some of these storms do have lightning. Lightning is certainly a top weather killer and something to be mindful of. It is not a requirement for a severe thunderstorm warning. Lightning plays no factor whatsoever into that. That is just hail and damaging winds. So lightning is not going to prompt a warning, which really actually means that if you are in a thunderstorm and it's not warned, don't let your guard down, because lightning is still a top killer, and so you want to be very mindful of that. The other thing I want to remind everybody, you can go to our website, carolinaweathergroup.com. On the right-hand side, there are several options for how you can support what we do here at the Carolina Weather Group. And one of the ways to do that is to purchase the Stormwatch Plus app for your iOS device. If you use the referral code Carolina, we get, I think, a dollar or two from your purchase there. This is organized by our fellow panelist, Eric. And what's nice about this radar app is it does have radar. It also has lots of educational resources. Also kind of acts as a NOAA weather radio, so it will alert you if any severe storms roll into your neck of the woods. Open the question back up to the rest of the panel. Any other weather apps or functionality you guys want to share with our viewers tonight? A little behind the scenes.
Radar scope. That's all I use.
Yeah,
I'll live by it.
Jared and I were just talking and laughing before the show, because we were talking about how when I was in Athens, I did some storm chasing, and we were saying, how did we ever do this before radar scope? What did we use, Jared?
Finger in the air, a little bit of spit. I think looking out, in all seriousness, in the 2000s, you had GR level 3 with all 16 levels of color that you could get, and that would work pretty well. You'd have people mounting tough books in their car, or getting something like Baron ThreatNet or something like that. I would love to. I think this would be a great show to get like just an old time chaser on to talk about how they did it before all of this technology, because I sure couldn't conceive of it. That's a fact. I wish I could share my phone screen here, but one weather app that I like very much is the GOES-R viewer from the University of Wisconsin. I'm going to point it at I'm going to do old school here. We're going to point my phone at the
low budget,
screen,
huh?
And you can see, yeah, low budget. Hey, we got to do around here at the Carolina Weather Group. We only get
I mainly just see your light.
Plus.
I see the reflection from your studio light.
You can see all my lights. So you can see my lighting, but you can also see the mid-level water vapor from GO16 there. Lots of different products on here too. It's full resolution. Maybe sometimes a little bit slow to load, but it does the job really nicely. You can see the Compass full disc mesosector 1, mesosector 2. There's also all sorts of other things, including true color, which is pretty nice. So that's one that I like if I want to get a look at the satellite. This one hasn't been updated in a long time, but it's also something that I like to use on my walk into the office, and it's called Soundings by WeatherWary. I don't even know if this is in the App Store anymore, but it's fantastic because it's exactly what it says it is. It's a SQT log P of it from the observed sounding from the airport, or from the RAP or the GFS or the NAM, and you can hit the stats button and it'll show you all of the parameters there. So it's pretty nice. It's a nice little thing to look at when you're walking to work in the morning, which is because who doesn't like to diagnose a great vertical profile of the atmosphere going into work? I mean, doesn't everybody do that?
Just all the tools in the geek belt. That's pretty much it.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's a great question. So keep those coming. We'll pull back the curtain on some more things. What I want to show here, actually, going back to our forecast tonight, is another tool we use, weather models. This is from the College of DuPage. So if you're looking for a tool or just wanting to learn more about the forecast tonight, you can actually go to the College of DuPage Next Generation Weather Lab website and look at weather models. This is the HRRR, one of our high resolution rapid refresh. And you can see this is essentially where we are right now with the rain across western and central North Carolina and the upstate of South Carolina. And then as I roll this forward over the course of the next few hours, you can continue to see what is projected to be where the rain will be. So roughly speaking, you can see we're going to have more rain back over a lot of those same areas as we head through not only the overnight, but into tomorrow as well too. So if you're watching tonight and just wanting to know a little bit more about the forecast, Here it is for you the next few hours here on one of our weather models. You can see there is more rain on the way, which is why that flash flood watch is up through tomorrow. We have a question for Shay Gibson, and it's a technical one, Shay.
Yes, I got that. That's from John Mossman. He's explained the dusty tongue in more detail. What I'm talking about, this is a real-time map right here, and this shows Saharan dust. So this is sand that is blown across the deserts. A lot of it's due to nocturnal jetting, very strong winds at nighttime that blow this sand, and so the dust kicks up into the air. Well, it gets suspended in the mid-levels of the atmosphere over the Atlantic Ocean, and it drifts across the Atlantic. And so this sand, it's very fine grained. It's almost metallic in nature, and it's the sand. I got David on coming through, but anyway, so this sort of metallic dust sits at the mid-levels and it reflects sunlight. It also keeps things down below it cooler and drier. So we have it's not a very conducive place for tropical cyclones to develop. And as we get into August, we start to see the intertropical convergence zone lifting northward over the Cape Verde. So we're almost getting into our Cape Verde season right now. But right now, the sea surface temperatures are cooler. The dust is in the atmosphere above it. And things are very, very quiet over there. In fact, the Saharan desert protects us many times. It keeps a lot of storms from developing. So it actually helps us out. If we look at Weather Bell, this is the dust extinction aerosol thickness. This is basically tracking that dust, this product right here. And as we see in time, it sort of goes, what it does is it travels across the Atlantic. It traverses the Atlantic Ocean. And then you have some fallout over some of the Caribbean islands and even parts of Texas at times. So, it's one of those things it's just a known thing that's been happening for, I don't know, millions of years. And now we have better technology to be able to track this air mass that's leaving the African coast. And we're learning more and more about it. We're learning how it correlates with the tropical convergence zone and how it affects cyclone or cyclogenesis, what we call tropical cyclone development, and how it either helps or it diffuses storms. So there's a lot of studies going on with this right now, but this is just sort of an idea of what that is and how it affects tropicals cyclogenesis. So it's one of those things. It's really, really neat that we have the technology to be able to track it, and we continue to watch it all the way through the hurricane season. I remember I did a 3-month observation study on it one time. That was lengthy blog, but it was fascinating to watch. I wanted to just see how long it would last before it dissipated. And so we said, as the intertropical convergence zone lifts to the north during the Cape Verde season, that dust tends to wane off, or it actually goes up to the north of that area, and that's what gets that train of tropical waves coming off the African coast, and things will start to increase as we get towards the end of the month. So we'll see.
Thank you very much for that, Shay. It is 8:55. If you're just tuning in, this is Open Mic Night here in the Carolina Weather Group. We're coming up to 9 o'clock. And don't forget, you still have time to get in your questions. Weather, science, technology for the Southeast here. We're covering them here for the next few minutes or so. So you can comment on our Facebook Live, on our Periscope, on our YouTube channel, and we'll be asking some of those coming up. Matter of fact, Linda just asked a question about how much rain they've had in the Mount Pleasant, Charleston area, and we actually touched upon that at the beginning of the show. So I would just let you know that when we're done here tonight, feel free to give it a rewind, either here or on the podcast version. And we actually had Shay and Jared talking about that. I know we're going to go to Jared in just a moment to talk a little bit more about an upcoming event he has, but I want to give an opportunity just to do a quick check-in on what some of the conditions are right now as we come up in the 9 o'clock hour. So these are the warnings that we have active right now. We do have some flash flood warnings in effect for some of those counties there, a handful of counties north of the Greensboro, Winston-Salem, kind of the I-77 corridor there in northern North Carolina as you make your way into Virginia. And if you are watching us kind of from the Georgia side of things, and I know Chris Jackson is going to be keeping a close eye on these because we're starting to see a little bit more activity from the Georgia side, and things are going to be rolling up out of Georgia, presumably into South Carolina here in the next little bit. So not only do we have 2 severe thunderstorm warnings right now still on the Georgia side of things, but we do have that tornado warning that continues for Athens, Georgia. So that's Clark, Jackson, Madison, and Oconee until 9:15, another 20 minutes or so with a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado. It was located over Beauregard, moving towards Watkinsville, moving northeast at 20 miles an hour. So again, that is a tornado warning for Georgia, those counties we just mentioned there. And not only will it encompass areas like 316, University of Georgia, but if this continues and gets reissued, we'll continue to see how much of Georgia it marches on through as it makes its way closer and closer to Hartwell, Lake Hartwell there. Chris Jackson, are you watching these two cells? Because I know they kind of come in into your little coverage area.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sitting there watching it pretty closely. You know, that's the same general area where the storms have been strongest today. I guess if you was to draw a line, you know, basically between the upstate and the Midlands of South Carolina, it's just a boundary set up with that moisture plume over the upstate that's just, you know, just allowing these storms to continue to head just, you know, due northeast and train over the top of one another. And that's been the MO all day, and it looks like it's going to continue well into tonight.
Yeah, when we looked at that HRR a few minutes ago, it does seem like that's the case. It's going to continue to just march, you know, to the north with a slight easterly track. And so I know it's going to move from Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia. And we haven't talked to David Reese in a few minutes. And I know he's got some activity in his neck of the woods. David, how are things looking there in Virginia?
Let's go ahead and unmute myself. We have some rain developing outside the station once again after picking up about 7 inches of rain just last night alone. The rain is falling in downtown Charlottesville once again. We're also looking at some severe weather heading through Buckingham County near Appomattox, where the Civil War ended. We also have it rolling up US 15, if you're familiar with that road between Farmville and Zion Crossroads, in other words, where it intersects with Interstate 64. That heavy rain extends all the way back down through Danville and Martinsville, where they have flash flood warnings in effect. I've seen some images of some flooding in and around Danville, so definitely be careful on the roads. As I told people last night, stay off the roads at dark, after dark, if it's flooding, because you're not going to be able to see it. Also, don't move the signs. If authorities have closed the roads. We had a reporter doing a live shot last night, and evidently an older lady got out of her car to move the sign out of the way so she could go around it. And then we saw her do it on live TV. That frustrated me to no end, especially since we had 3 deaths. But as far as things go right now, let's see if I can bring up lightning counter, because that storm over Appomattox is producing a tremendous amount of lightning. Let's see. Do a better box here. Just within the past 15 minutes, that severe storm in Virginia has over 200 lightning strikes just in the past 15 minutes. That means it's still strengthening. That means it is still continuing to the north. That means areas in Fluvanna and Louisa counties, if you're familiar with that area in Virginia, definitely need to be on the watch out for that. Locally heavy rain. Some areas I've seen have already picked up over 3 inches of rain tonight. So more flooding is unfortunately heading for Central Virginia. And as we've been saying for the Carolinas throughout the past hour or so, 45 minutes to an hour, what you're seeing in North Carolina, South Carolina is heading to the north to northeast. And where is Central Virginia? North to northeast. So all of this originated in North Carolina, doesn't stop at the Virginia-North Carolina state line. It continues north. And so we'll be dealing with that probably within the next hour or so for downtown Charlottesville. So I'm about to get really busy again.
Well,
David,
we're happy.
are you
Go
using the global lightning mapper yet and integrating into your system to find out how many lightning strikes or an idea of how many? Because I know I've been seeing some tweets lately with that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, WSI has finally gotten around to the global lightning mapping stuff, GLM. So they have a little query tool, so I can make a box to give you an idea of how many cloud-to-ground lightning strikes there have been. I'm not sure if it imports the cloud-to-cloud lightning strikes in our system quite yet, but it's definitely a fantastic tool to have, because I know that lightning is one of the good indicators of ongoing thunderstorms, ongoing severe storms, strengthening storms. So it's fantastic to finally have that tool at our disposal.
Very cool. I think Chris has some. Oh, sorry, James, go right ahead.
No, I was just going to show an actual visual. I'm jumping ahead a little bit. What I had saved as my tweet of the week for a little bit later was actually that global mapping tool there from Go16, which actually was used in a storm report earlier today in Jenkins County. They were able to go back. They had some damage there at the sheriff's office, if I'm not mistaken. And so while there are a number of ways to kind of collaborate those reports, I thought it was very interesting, Shay, that they were going to the new GLM and finding out the exact time of that lightning strike.
Yeah, I can see that being really good for forensic studies.
Absolutely. Chris Jackson, I do believe has... Oh, go ahead.
I hate to be the pedantic one here, but it is geostationary lightning mapper.
What did I say?
We're all saying global. I do it too. I do it all the time.
I do it all the time.
Yeah,
Correct.
I have to pinch myself every time, but it's geostationary lightning mapper. I'm not going to at NWS Charleston SC with that. I might get body slammed. So anyway, sorry, James.
No, you're good. Thank you for pointing that out. You know, we have a whole show on that.
We're not the only ones doing it, so
exactly.
It is easy to say that.
If you want to learn more about that, just check out our archives on YouTube or on any of your favorite platforms where you listen to Carolina Weather Group, because we have a whole show on that. We even have a whole show on Radar Scope, the app we were talking about a little bit earlier. Let's go back over to Chris Jackson in Columbia. I think he's got more. Chris? Are you on mute, my friend? He may still
There we go.
There he goes.
All right, so I just got this message sent to me on Facebook. For one of my friends that lives up near Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. I don't know, how far north that is in Pennsylvania, but it looks like they got some swiftwater rescues going on from flash flooding in that part of the world. And their fire department actually posted some pictures about 30 minutes ago, and you can see some cars that, a gas station and vehicles that are at least halfway underwater in certain spots. And in their post, they do say they had victims that they pulled from the water. So it's extremely important, I guess, to reiterate the point. Turn around, don't drown. If you encounter a flooded roadway, just turn around.
I know there are all sorts of ways that you can end up in a waterlogged vehicle, and I just feel like we're always saying, turn around, don't drown, and then there are more pictures. And I'm not faulting anybody. I know stuff happens sometimes, but the example we just heard from David Reese really goes to show that there is a percentage of the population out there that's just not getting the message. It's just frustrating. It's frustrating.
It was interesting. I was kind of watching a Twitter conversation the other day where the discussion was for nuisance flooding, like sea level rise, just minor coastal flooding, saltwater flooding. Maybe turn around, don't drown is a little excessive. Maybe it's a little melodramatic. It's like, okay, there's 3 inches of salt water in the ground, and you probably don't want to run through that with your car because, salt water rusts things. But is it really drowning? So it's interesting that, and I would hope that the turn around, don't drown message is not being overused. You always have to worry about overwarning. And I thought that was an interesting point, because it's like, so I like to say, turn around, don't drown your engine, right? Because, if you put a financial penalty on it, sometimes that actually hits home more than the life penalty, right? So,
yeah, I can definitely agree with that, especially for coastal areas. Heck, I almost had my car flooded out because I got stuck on the beach on in the middle of a thunderstorm, and all of a sudden, like, the water was up to the bottom of my hubcaps, and I was just sitting there at a light. It just happens, but once you get into more mountainous terrain, it definitely becomes a little bit more life-threatening in more of an urgency sense, because, for instance, back on May 31st, when we had a foot of rain fall just west of the city of Charlottesville by about 6-7 miles, we had 2 older people in a car, and they were washed away. And that's one of those instances where it's like, hey, turn around, don't drown. And they found his body about 1 mile downstream. They found her body 2 miles downstream. They found the car 3 days after they found their bodies. So I think you're right that we need to kind of like push back a little bit on using that term too much, especially for coastal areas, because coastal areas, the water's not rushing. Whereas in more mountainous terrain and more terrain-based flooding, that's definitely a little bit more life urgency.
Yep. So just real quick for anybody who is watching this, the power went out at James's house. I think somebody breathed wrong. So we're gonna tell everybody in the comments. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on the if you're watching on the YouTube stream, the raw YouTube stream from Hangouts on Air, we're fine. Everything is good. But if you're watching on Facebook Live, on Instagram, or not Instagram, on Periscope or any of those other places where we send it to, we just blow it out. Well, you're not watching us. And so really, it's kind of like I just sent an email that the internet is down, but it is what it is. So so we'll be right back on those channels. So Chris, I would say you've got some more pictures, but I would say in order for people to see them, let's
good point.
let's not show your pictures and then nobody get to see them. So
yeah, I was in the middle of typing in. I saw James had left the chat. I was like, oops.
Yeah, so James will be back in a minute. He's producing the show tonight. He's producing it out of his home in Charlotte, where the power is out. Apparently it rained a trace. It talked about it earlier on the show, on the program, and so it goes. So he's coming back. He'll be back in a few minutes. We'll have all the streams back up and running.
Well, in the meantime, in the meantime, we can have Peter talk about some of his weather up north. We haven't heard very much from you this show, Pete. You're kind of below us. I mean, sorry, you're above us. We're having all the action down here, but tell us what's been going on out there.
Well, like we mentioned, it's been raining and raining and raining. And actually, bringing up Pennsylvania, I guess you guys saw that in Hershey, PA, there was a pretty big amount of flooding that actually closed down Hershey Park for a couple of days. Let me go see if I can find those pictures real fast, because I know they were circulating all over social media. But yeah, it actually closed down the amusement park for a couple of days, which doesn't happen that often. But it happened, and I'm sure they just love that in the middle of the summer. But yeah. So the most of the rides turned into water rides, as you'll see in a second. Let me pop this up if it wants to work. All right, here we go. So yeah, this is what it looked like. If I can make this a little bit bigger, let's see if it'll do it. Maybe yes, maybe no. All right, let's see. Well, this is a video. We don't want that, but it's a drone footage from somebody. So, oh, there we go. All right, well, that works. So, yeah, you can see there's a lot of flooding down there, a lot of muddy-looking, dirty water all over the park. So, it's kind of weird to see an amusement park just empty and deserted in the middle of the summer. But, yeah, so that happened in Pennsylvania. They're still getting a lot of rain over there right now. Actually, they're right over Hershey. They're getting heavy rain. And that's going to happen the next couple of days. So hopefully they don't shut down again, because losing money there, not good. So we'll see. But yeah, that's kind of what's been going on here. Just hoping the rain gets out of here. We haven't had any severe weather, though, so that's a good thing. But yeah, it's kind of good.
They could supplement the park there with some raft. Like river rafting.
Yeah, I would say call it the Hershey Park melted chocolate experience, but that probably wouldn't go over too well when people try to drink the water.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like chocolate.
You nailed it. We can have brown river rafting. That's it.
Oh yeah, I think. I'm gonna do one more thing, Shay. I'm gonna jump in with one more thing here. A little bit of promo for something I've been working on with my friends at the South Carolina Sea Grant Consortium and College of Charleston. This is an event we've got coming up on the 24th to the 26th. It's the Chucktown Floods Hack. So any of you Carolina Weather Group watchers on YouTube only, because we never got our streams back anywhere else. But of course, we'll keep this in the rest of the thing. But all you hackers and designers, form up teams, get in on this. This is a great opportunity to create tools and ideas for improving resiliency from flooding along the coast. We've had a lot of flooding conversations lately. It's a big problem. We've had several incidents over the last few weeks just alone. This is kind of prime flood season for Charleston. And so the South Carolina Consortium, the Charleston Resilience Network, we're putting this on. Should be a really great event, hosting it at Boomtown. That's my day job. It looks like we've got our stream back. But if you go to sccgrant.org/hack, you can learn all about it. Hope to see a lot of you out there. It should be a good time. Bring your ideas. I mean, we're looking forward to seeing what folks have to offer. So again, that's going from the Friday the 24th at 5 o'clock to Sunday the 26th at 5 o'clock. So I don't think I'm going to be sleeping very much. I'll be hanging around and maybe helping out on some things. So it'll be a great event. I'm really looking forward to seeing what people come up with, and it should be very cool. So, and now we've got Peter. He's got the schedule for the next few weeks.
Yes, sir. All right, let's get this up. And there we go. All right. So this was show number 242, not 80,000, whatever James said at the beginning. So next week, we are going to have Matthew Marchetti on, managing spontaneous volunteers and flood events. And then the week after that, we're going to be talking derechos, MCS, MCV systems. Going to be another good show. And then Surfline, My Coast, Hurricanes. We got some good shows coming up. That's all that matters. And September 12th is still open. So if anyone has any potential show topics that we could talk about, please send it our way and we'll try to get it in there. And of course, part of October and then all of November and December are open. So if we can't get somebody right now, we can get them maybe by the end of the year. Okay.
Very cool.
So
yeah, I was going to try to get maybe try to get Dr. Shepard to fill in on September the 12th if he is available. So we can have him on. We like to have him on at least once a year to talk about it, anything big topics. This one, flooding. So he's really plugged into flood events and what they mean for the United States and the residents here and the population. So hopefully we'll have that slot filled in, Pete.
Yep.
Tweets.
And James has dropped off again. So some more technical difficulties.
I see James. He's there, and we're streaming. So it may be you might be on 4G, but we're streaming. So just in time to Chris. Let's look at your pictures, man. You did some. Yeah, let's pop them up. You did some good chasing today.
All right, let's see here. All righty, here we go. Can everybody see?
Ooh.
There we go. We're good.
Awesome. All right, so this is what I rolled up on once I got down into Barnwell around, what time did I take this picture? Let's see here. Right at 6 p.m. tonight. So it was pretty late getting down there, but I got greeted with this nice, big, beautiful thunderstorm as it was becoming really outflow dominant. On the left side of the storm here, you can see how it's got that bow shape to it. That's from the RFD searching out the backside of the thunderstorm. So it often bows out like that, and you get this nice shelf cloud and stuff. And then all your rain and stuff's going to be to the right side of the storm. But really nice looking storm. South Carolina wasn't expecting that. And sit there and watch it come over the Barnwell Regional Airport. And you can see this little thing right here. A lot of people would think that's a funnel cloud or something like that. And it's actually not. This is just harmless scud. And this is just rising air going into the updraft base of the thunderstorm that you can see all right here, kind of where I'm circling with my mouse. And just scroll through a couple more here that I've gone through really quickly. And another shot of it. And to the average person, driving down the road, they look out the window, they see that. I could understand where they might think that would be a funnel cloud or something really, really ominous is about to happen. But at this point in time, it was harmless. It was just something really nice to take pictures of.
I think it's great when people report those, by the way, just because sometimes you never know. I mean, they look similar. They're very similar in their appearance, especially from a distance. And so it's good.
Totally. It takes a set of eyes. Sometimes to just sit there and watch it to see if it is rotating, to see what is actually going on there. Sometimes a snapshot picture isn't the best way to describe something. That can be as fluid as But yeah, it was a fun little chase going down there.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we could go ahead and do tweets of the week. Anybody got the tweets of the week up?
Yeah, I got mine. I'll start this off if you guys want me to.
Go for it.
let's see here. Screen share. Let's share the screen one more time. All right, mine comes from NWS Cleveland last week. It's something really cool. I've actually really never heard much of. A meteor tsunami occurred on Lake Erie with strong winds from thunderstorms. Basically, what happened? They got a line of strong thunderstorms that moved across Lake Erie, and you can see the outflow boundary that they've arrowed out here, where they had 62-mile-an-hour winds, and with the relatively shallow water that's in Lake Erie, it actually caused a water level rise that created a meteor tsunami. And you can see a picture of it to the right over here. Water spilling over breakwater at the Fairport Harbor Lighthouse. I thought that was really cool and worth sharing.
That is really cool. Yeah, meteor tsunamis are fairly common up in the Great Lakes, but it's really neat to see the effects. Really, really cool.
Absolutely. Oh my God.
All right, I think we got Jared up next.
Yeah, this was a great LSR. This is one of the best LSRs I've ever read. Emergency manager reported a flash flood, which was causing snakes to enter apartments along Robert Street. So there you go. I mean, if that doesn't make you cringe, or unless you like reptiles and then it gets excited, you like snakes, it's like woohoo, you know, maybe it's a snake party. I don't know, but yeah, nope. This is probably a pretty common problem. It just doesn't usually make the LSR.
Snakes on a coastal plain.
Oh! Well done, sir.
Had to say it.
Oh man, I just want to take you. If you had a microphone to drop, you should do that.
Let's see, Dave's off here. I'll go ahead and do mine real quick. Okay, this one came in from Trevor Gibbs, and anti-crepuscular rays. Well, you know, what in the heck are those? I'm sure a lot of people ask. And what this is an optical illusion. What you have is, if you've ever seen the sun behind clouds showing these giant sunbeams that kind of go out, those are called crepuscular rays by definition. And if you have a certain time of the year, and my theory is that during a certain time of the year, we tend to see these in August quite a bit here in Charleston. And if you have a nice clear sky overhead all the way to the eastern horizon, a lot of days you can see this in the morning and in the evening. When you have the sun rising in the east from clouding offshore of the Gulf Stream, you get this shadow effect across the sky. It looks like the beams are all going to a point, but they're really not. They're just stretching across the sky. Same effect if you look down a railroad track and you see that the rails sort of come to a point in the distance. This is the same phenomena that occurs where you have the beams stretching across the sky. And that what it is just shadow off the clouds to the west. And in this case, this was the sunset time, 8:29 p.m., where it looks like there's a sun rising in the east. So this is actually pointing to the east in the cloud tops. It's just a reflection of light from the clouds and the sun to the west. So yeah, very interesting sort of feature that we see in August here in other parts of the state. But I think the residual clouding left over from sea breezing in the evening creates that shadowing effect behind where the sun dips behind them. And then you get these shadows stretching across the sky. So pretty neat. Good one from Trevor Gibbs, and Post and Courier actually did a write-up on that today. Bo Peterson, I'll give a shout out to him about the article, and he did pretty good. It's a real sciencey topic, so you'll probably just see crepuscular rays in the article, which is fine. The anti-crepuscular rays are just basically a yeah, Jared, I don't know if you've seen them yet, but they're happening.
Yeah, not yet. No, where I am, it's sometimes hard to see them, but I look forward to seeing them. Always a fun sight.
We're waiting on either you or Pete. Did you have one? No,
well, I mean, if you want to see it, you can. I mean, I'm not holding anybody up here. Let's go. Let's do it. Why not? All right. So you can stay here for another minute. So after all this rain talk we've had, we need to brighten this up a little bit. So here's a great shot from New York last night. Always Inga Sarda Sorensen on Twitter has the best sunset shots. So if you don't follow her, you need to, because you get pictures like this like every single night of the week. It's great. So yeah, if you need a little brightening up on your Twitter page, just follow her. It's great. So there you go.
I'm watching Chris in the corner here, and I'm absolutely dying.
Is he still stuck on the snakes?
No.
No.
What's going on, Chris?
Oh, nothing. We just had this really long little thing on Twitter a couple weeks ago about some of the sunset pictures that she had posted a while back. It's just really funny.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've seen some interesting conversations going on in Chris's neck of the woods for sure. You guys keep it real up there in the mid-state. I tell you what, it's, good stuff, man. Good stuff.
Nothing bad, I promise.
I know. I like your troll posts with people that you get that in social media. You just get these leechers that sort of they hook into you and they stick their spurs in and ride it out. I don't know what they're trying to do. They're just trying to. I don't know where they're coming from or what they're doing, but those are funny.
It's so funny when I get those trolls, and it's like, man, at one point it was like half a dozen a week, but I guess Zuckerberg or whatever has done something. I don't get as many of them anymore, thankfully.
I like the ones that PM me. I got one of those this week. It's a PM. You have to read this, and it's something just absurd. Like you're like, what? Yeah, man. That's how it is.
Absolutely.
Before we go, I'm just going to let I'm going to let our Georgia viewers know they've reissued that tornado warning there now for Madison County, moving its way out of Clark County, Athens. We have a little bit of a distance here. We'll see what the storm does as it moves, continuing through northeast Georgia, because just at the top right of your screen there is Anderson County, South Carolina. So as this cell continues to move to the north and east, we'll keep an eye on it, and we'll be back on the area if the situation warrants. But as of right now, we don't have any severe storms in the Carolinas. We just have a few flash flood warnings there along that North Carolina border with Virginia, kind of north of Winston-Salem and Greensboro, including the Danville metropolitan area. And then, of course, we do have a flash flood watch that continues for western North Carolina, upstate South Carolina, extending as far south as Columbia. That goes through tomorrow, so stay with the Carolina Weather Group. We'll continue to monitor this flood threat and bring you updates as the situation warrants. Otherwise, gentlemen, I think that does it for this regular scheduled show. Cool. Thanks for joining us here on the Carolina Weather Group. We'll see you back here next week or sooner, as always, if the situation warrants. But until then, have a great night.